Starting out, the Blazers need a second star.
This has been Strictly Ball Business.
Strictly ball business.
Strictly ball business.
I like that video.
Shit. Easier said than done, right? We've been saying this for years. They've tried to get good players here. They've tried to get that second star from CJ McCollum to now Anthony Simons. But is that type of player capable of becoming the star? We've had a hard time seeing that, really come to fruition. So do they need to make a big trade for someone? That's kind of the big question here. Is it possible? What do you think?
Yeah, I think it's certainly possible. I think there's some stars out there that might go for a lot cheaper than they're actually worth. I think it's just comes down to circumstance, and they can prey off that. Anthony Simons, I really like him. He's doing great. I think he's doing really well. Jeremy Grant's doing well. I just think they need a little more. Right now they're 17th in defensive ranking and only 13th in offense. It's just they just need more. They just need a little more on both ends. They're a decently efficient team, 7th in three-point shooting, 12th in field goal, but they are turning the ball over a lot. So it'd be nice to get ideally a better ball handler, but you don't want to give up too much defense. So it's all kind of dependent upon what they go out there and get. I got 2 trades. I can toss them at you. Let's see what you think of them. All right. So the first one, they're calling up the Wizards. They can buy this guy cheap. He's on I think he's got 2 years left on his contract. It's Kristaps Porzingis. So on this one, they're trading off Jusuf Nurkic, Justin Winslow, and Gary Payton II. They lose a decent amount of defense, but I guess they're really hoping that at least the inside presence of a Porzingis as a shot blocker will increase them in a certain way. Or maybe it just adds more to Dame's game where it spaces out the floor, where they take the only guy on their team that can't shoot, Jusuf Nurkic, and they add a guy who's a decent 3-point shooter right now. He's scoring really well. Kristaps, you voted him into the All-Star game. What do you think of that? Who says no?
I don't know if the Wizards want to do that trade necessarily, but also keep in mind for the Blazers, they haven't gotten a lot out of Gary Payton because he's been injured for most of this year. He just played his first game, I think, last week. So their defensive numbers this year have been sans him. So maybe he'll come in and have a great impact. I don't know who has a bigger defensive impact between him and Porzingis. I would like to think it's probably Gary Payton, but do you want to take the risk and get a shooter with Kristaps? I can see that. But this is also a guy who clearly has a different type of ego. He's not just a role player. He continues to think like he's the guy who needs a specific amount of touches, and guaranteed he's going to ask for a big payday when that comes around. So do you want to be the team stuck with the hand grenade in a couple years at that point? Or do you want to train him again in another year and just continue to flip this hot potato?
Yeah, it would put them a little more tougher because they're just putting more of their contracts in less hands, more of their money in less hands. But I use it more as Jusuf Nurkic. He's gonna go away, and I don't even think he's definitely not the answer at center for them. He's just we've seen a lot of teams struggle, especially with the Timberwolves. The Magic did, or the Bulls do, where you have bigs that just aren't good defensive bigs, or they have less potential to be better defensive bigs. And I think Porzingis would add a little more than Nurkic. Maybe he's not as strong, so it's not as good as pick setting, and you don't get all those great flare screens that Dame just loves. But it gives you a little more versatility rather than just setting into the way, because clearly the ways they're working, it's just not going to get them over it. I don't think it's going to get them over that hump. I think they just need a little bit more. I don't think rebounding would change. Gary Payton, the loss of that would be a little tough. And it's just easier to swallow now because he's only played one game and they don't see too much impact right now. And we'd still have to see more of a sample size from Gary, but I certainly think it's an option out there for them.
Yeah, I think a big guy is certainly a good way for them to look for in trades. Another person that I have them considering is DeAndre Ayton, with the Phoenix Suns continuing to struggle, and him overall, we know, doesn't want to really continue that relationship. I think they're for that full contract, so eventually they're going to have to, do this trade or somewhere. Maybe it's with the Blazers.
Yeah, they'd probably. I imagine they'd have to have Nurkic in that period, but then they'd either have to add a guy in like Jeremy Grant or Anthony Simons into that trade.
Sure.
Which I would say it'd be more towards. If I were the Blazers, I would use Anthony Simons. You get less. I mean, I like the young talent, but you do get more young talent. Ayton he's number 1 overall draft pick. I think he's an all-star in the making. I think that's almost worth it. But they do have a slew of guards that could throw in at too, whether it's Gary Payton or Josh Hart. I think they do have that more versatility at the guard rather than as a big man. If you got rid of Jeremy Grant and Nurkic, you're kind of just not much going up on the front court.
Yeah, I mean, Anthony Simons is a big trade chip for them. So if they're open to trading him, I'm curious, like, who they're open to getting back. It's going to be hard to get someone much better than DeAndre Ayton. So kind of at that point, and he's locked up for multiple years. So I think at that point, it's probably worth pulling the trigger on. Another person I would be happy to trade Anthony Simons for would be DeMar DeRozan.
Hey, that's good. I have a trade for DeMar DeRozan actually. Yeah, I think he would be great because
perfect. Good segue then.
Really, it's like perfect. So he would be a nice fit because he's just that second guy. You know, they really have just never had that second like superstar next to Dame. I mean, they tried it with Aldridge. I like CJ McCollum. I think he's an all-star caliber player. Wasn't enough. I don't think any of the guys on the current roster. I think Simons will eventually be an all-star, but I don't think he's on that timeline right now.
Yeah, maybe.
So, and I think the Bulls would love to do that. So you could get DeMar DeRozan. I actually have them keeping Anthony Simons in this trade. I have Jeremy Grant, Shaedon Sharpe, and a first-round pick. That's what I have them giving up. I think they would have that versatility because DeRozan can play a small forward. I'm not sure who they would have play power forward immediately. I mean, but I think he would give that second star power. And I mean, DeMar DeRozan's been proven that he can play well next to the shooters like Anthony Simons and Dame. And he's never played with a guy at the caliber of Dame, I don't think. No, I don't think he has at all. So like, that would be.
I think that would add a lot to the team.
Mm-hmm. And you'd have that veteran, I would
great
be
really happy to see that
presence. Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's all I had.
I mean,
sorry.
That's all. Yeah, that's all you had. Well, the one other I thought was a possibility, I guess, if things go south, continue to do so. I don't know if it could happen this year, probably be next year or in the offseason, would be Anthony Davis.
Yeah, I mean, that would be really nice. I think that would be a really nice guard pairing. And Anthony Simons is gone, and probably Jeremy Grant if they're doing. They're probably both of them. Ideally, they'd want to get rid of Nurkic, maybe throw in Shaedon Sharpe and Justice Winslow in that to try to at least keep Jeremy Grant. I mean, I would like it. Really, there's very few places Anthony Davis would not fit, but if I were Anthony Davis, I would want to play. Dame's an easy guy. I mean, easy guy to play next to. Whereas, like, you look at some of those superstars, they're pretty locked up in what they have for the teams. But he's probably the most accessible superstar to play with, I would say. Whereas everyone else, it's going to be really hard for trade chips. But I think they'd be more willing. And so I'd be down for that. I think that would be a really nice pair. It just depends what veterans they get along to go in it. I think that could easily improve the team.
Great. Well, that's all we have for today, folks. We'll see you next time. No, just kidding. So that was our Blazers talk. You know, we really blazed it up with that one, I think. There was some pretty high takes. I don't know, man.
Did you guys like that video? I like that video. Just comment, like, and subscribe.